7. The acquisition of spiritual power. The world is filled with men and women seeking pleasure, excitement, novelty, seeking ever to be moved to laughter or tears, not seeking strength, stability, and power, but courting weakness and eagerly engaged in dispersing what power they have. Men and women of real power and influence are few because few are prepared to make the sacrifice necessary to the acquisition of power, and fewer still are ready to patiently build up character. To be swayed by your fluctuating thoughts and impulses is to be weak and powerless. To rightly control and direct those forces is to be strong and powerful. People of strong animal passions have much of the ferocity of the beast, but this is not power. The elements of power are there, but it is only when this ferocity is tamed and subdued by the higher intelligence that real power begins. And people can only grow in power by awakening themselves to higher and even higher states of intelligence and consciousness. The difference between people of weakness and people of power lies not in the strength of the personal will, for stubborn people are usually weak and foolish, but in what focus of consciousness which represents their states of knowledge. The pleasure seekers, the lovers of excitement, the hunters after novelty, and the victims of impulse and hysterical emotion lack that knowledge of principles which gives balance, stability, and influence. People commence to develop power when, checking their impulses and selfish inclinations, they fall back upon the higher and calmer consciousness within them and begin to steady themselves upon a principle. The realization of unchanging principles in consciousness is at once the source and secret of the highest power. When, after much searching and suffering and sacrificing, the light of an internal principle dawns upon the soul, a divine calm ensues, and joy unspeakable gladdens the heart. Those who have realized such a principle cease to wander, and remain poised and self-possessed. They cease to be passions slaves and become master builders in the temple of destiny. Page 159. People govern themselves, and people governed by self and not by principle change their front when their selfish comforts are threatened. Deeply intent upon defending and guarding their own interests, they regard all means as lawful that will serve that end. They are continually scheming as to how to protect themselves against enemies, being too self-centered to perceive that they are their own enemies. Such people's work crumbles away, for it is divorced from truth and power. Page 159. All effort that is grounded upon self perishes. Only that work endures that is built upon an indestructible principle. Those who stand upon a principle remain calm, dauntless, and self-possessed under all circumstances. When the hour of trial comes and decision must be made between personal comforts and truth, comforts are given up. This cannot be altered even when they are faced with the prospect of torture. Self-centered people regard the loss of their wealth, their comforts, and their lives as the greatest calamities which can befall them. People of principle look upon these incidents as comparatively insignificant and not to be compared with loss of character and loss of truth. 2. To desert truth is, to such people, the only happening which can really be called a calamity. It is the hour of crisis which decides who are the minions of darkness and who the children of light. It is the epoch of threatening disaster, ruin, and persecution which divides the sheep from the goats and reveals to the reverential gaze of succeeding ages the men and women of power. It is easy for people, so long as they are left in the enjoyment of their possessions, to persuade themselves that they believe in and adhere to the principles of peace, harmony, and universal love. But when their enjoyments are threatened, or they imagine they are threatened, they begin to clamor loudly for war. Such people show that they believe in and stand upon not peace, harmony, and love, but strife, selfishness, and hatred. Those who do not desert their principles, even when threatened with the loss of every earthly thing, even to the loss of reputation and life, are the people of power. They are the men and women whose every word and work endures. They represent the leaders whom the afterworld honors, reveres, and worships. There is no way to the acquisition of spiritual power except by the inward illumination and enlightenment which is the realization of spiritual principles, page 161. And those principles can be realized only by constant practice and application. Take the principle of divine love and quietly and diligently meditate upon it with the object of arriving at a thorough understanding of it. Bring its searching light to bear upon all your habits, your actions, your speech, your intercourse with others, your every secret thought and desire. As you persevere in this course, the divine love will become more and more perfectly revealed to you, and your own shortcomings will stand out in more vivid contrast, spurring you on to renewed endeavor. Having once caught a glimpse of the incomparable majesty of that imperishable principle, you will never again rest in your weakness, your selfishness, your imperfection, but will pursue that love until you have relinquished every discordant element and have brought yourself into perfect harmony with it. And that state of inward harmony is spiritual power. Take also other spiritual principles, such as purity and compassion, and apply them in the same way. So, exacting is truth, you will be able to make no stay, no resting place until the inmost garment of your soul is bereft of every stain, and your heart has become incapable of any hard, condemnatory, and pitiless impulse. Page 162. Only insofar as you understand, realize, and rely upon these principles will you acquire spiritual power, and that power will be manifested in and through you in the form of increasing dispassion, patience, and equanimity. Dispassion argues superior self-control. Sublime patience is the very hallmark of divine knowledge, and to retain an unbroken calm amid all the duties and distractions of life marks off the people of power. It is easy in the world to live after the world's opinion. It is easy in solitude to live after our own. But truly great people are those who in the midst of the crowd keep with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude. Some mystics hold that perfection in dispassion is the source of that power by which miracles, so called, are performed. And truly, those who have gained such perfect control of all their interior forces that no shock, however great, can for one moment unbalance them, must be capable of guiding and directing those forces in a consummate manner. To grow in self control, in patience, in equanimity is to grow in strength and power, and you can only thus grow by focusing your consciousness upon a principle. As a child, after making many and vigorous attempts to walk unaided, at last succeeds after numerous falls. In accomplishing this, so you must enter the way of power by first attempting to stand alone. Break away from the tyranny of custom, tradition, conventionality, and the opinions of others until you succeed in walking lonely and erect. Rely upon your own judgment, be true to your own conscience, follow the light that is within you. All outward lights are so many will-o'-the-wisps. There will be those who will tell you that you are foolish, that your judgment is faulty, that your conscience is all awry, and that the light within you is darkness. But heed them not. If what they say is true, the sooner you as a searcher for wisdom find it out, the better. And you can make the discovery only by bringing your powers to the test. Therefore, pursue your course bravely. Your conscience is at least your own, and to follow it is the path to freedom. To follow the conscience of another is to be condemned to slavery. You will have many falls, you will suffer many wounds, you will endure many buffetings for a time, but press on in faith, believing that sure and certain victory lies ahead. Search for a rock, a principle, and having found it, cling to it. Get it under your feet and stand erect upon it until at last, immovably fixed upon it, you succeed in defying the fury of the waves and storms of selfishness. For selfishness in any and every form is dissipation, weakness, death. Unselfishness in its spiritual aspect is conservation, power, and life. As you grow in spiritual life and become established upon principles, you will become as beautiful and as unchangeable as those principles, will taste of the sweetness of their immortal essence, and will realize the eternal and indestructible nature of the God within. Page 165. The realization of selfless love. It is said that Michelangelo saw in every rough block of stone a thing of beauty awaiting the master hand to bring it into reality. Even so, within each There reposes the divine image awaiting the master hand of faith and the chisel of patience to bring it into manifestation. And that divine image is revealed and realized as stainless, selfless love, hidden deep in every human heart, though frequently covered up with a mass of hard and almost impenetrable accretions, is the spirit of divine love, whose holy and spotless essence is undying and eternal. It is truth. It is that which belongs to the Supreme, that which is real and immortal. All else changes and passes away. This alone is permanent and imperishable. And two, realize this love by ceaseless diligence in the practice of the highest righteousness. To live in it and to become fully conscious in it is to enter into immortality here and now, is to become one with truth, one with God, one with the central heart of all things, and to know our own divine and eternal nature. To reach this love, to understand and experience it, you must work with great persistency and diligence upon your heart and mind, must ever renew your patience and keep strong your faith, for there will be much to remove, much to accomplish, before the divine image is revealed in all its glorious beauty. Those who strive to reach and to accomplish the divine will be tried to the very uttermost, and this is absolutely necessary, for how else could they acquire that sublime patience without which there is no real wisdom, no divinity? All their work will seem to be futile, and their efforts appear to be thrown away. Now and then a hasty touch will mar their image, and perhaps when they imagine their work is almost completed, they will find what they imagine to be the beautiful form of divine love utterly destroyed, and they must begin again with this past bitter experience to guide and help them. But those who have resolutely set themselves to realize the highest recognize no such thing as defeat. All failures are apparent, not real. Page 167. Every slip, every fall, every return to selfishness is a lesson learned, an experience gained from which a golden grain of wisdom is extracted, helping the striver toward the accomplishment of his lofty object. To recognize this is to enter the way that leads unmistakably toward the divine. Once come to regard your failings, your sorrows and sufferings as so many voices telling you plainly where you are weak and faulty, where you fall below the true and the divine, you will then begin to ceaselessly watch yourself, and every slip, every pang of pain will show you where you are set to work and what you have to remove out of your heart in order to bring it near to the likeness of the divine, nearer to the perfect love. So here, yes, in page 167, the author mentions the heart, and he says what you have to remove out of your heart. So the heart is always a leading force right in the front. As you proceed day by day, detaching yourself more and more from the inward selfishness, the love that is selfless will gradually become revealed to you. See, they says gradually become revealed to you. That's the thing, the chisel of patience. You have to I have to, wait and see as things develop day by day. It takes time. So the love that is selfless will gradually become revealed to you. And when you are growing patient and calm, when your petulance, tempers, and irritabilities are passing away from you, and the more powerful lusts and prejudices cease to dominate and enslave you, then you will know that the divine is awakening within you, that you are drawing near to the eternal heart, that you're not far from that selfless love, the possession of which is peace and immortality. Page 168. Divine love is distinguished from human loves in this supremely important particular. It is free from partiality. Human loves cling to a particular object to the exclusion of all else, and when that object is removed, great and deep is the resultant suffering to the one who loves. Divine love embraces the whole universe, and without clinging to any part, yet contains within itself the whole. Those who come to it by gradually purifying and broadening their human loves until all the selfish and impure elements are burned out of them, cease from suffering. It is because human loves are narrow and confined and mingled with selfishness that they cause suffering. No suffering can result from that love which is so absolutely pure that it seeks nothing for itself. Nevertheless, human loves are absolutely necessary as steps toward the divine, and no soul is prepared to partake of divine love until it has become capable of the deepest and most intense human love. It is only by passing through human loves and human sufferings that divine love is reached and realized. All human loves are perishable, like the forms to which they cling, but there is a love that is imperishable that does not cling to appearances. All human loves are counterbalanced by human hates, but there is a love that admits of no opposite reaction, divine and free from all taint of self, that sheds its fragrance on all alike. Page 169. Human loves are reflections of the divine love and draw the soul nearer to the reality, the love that knows neither sorrow nor change. It is well that the mother, clinging with passionate tenderness to the little helpless form of flesh that lies on her bosom, should be overwhelmed with the dark waters of sorrow when she sees it laid in the cold earth. It is well that her tears should flow and her heart ache, for only thus can she be reminded of the evanescent nature of the joys and objects of sense and be drawn near to the eternal and imperishable reality. Well, there's a harsh truth for you there. God bless. All right. So it is well that lover, brother, sister, husband, wife should suffer deep anguish and be enveloped in gloom when the visible object of their affection is torn from them, so that they may learn to turn from their affections toward the invisible source of all, where alone abiding satisfaction is to be found. It is well that the proud, the ambitious, the self-seeking should suffer defeat, humiliation, and misfortune, that they should pass through the scorching fires of affliction, for only thus can the wayward soul be brought to reflect upon the enigma of life. Only thus can the heart be softened and purified and prepared to receive the truth. Page 170. When the sting of anguish penetrates the heart of human love, when gloom and loneliness and desertion cloud the soul of friendship and trust, then it is that the heart turns toward the sheltering love of the eternal and finds rest in its silent peace. Yes, that is absolutely true. When you turn to the heart, you find the silent peace by placing your heart first and sort of listen to the wisdom within. That's definitely, at least for the most part, good advice to help somebody fall asleep. It works for me as well, for sure. And there's many other benefits to it, of course. And whosoever comes to this love is not turned away comfortless, is not pierced with anguish or surrounded with gloom, and is never deserted in the dark hour of trial. The glory of divine love can only be revealed in the heart that is chastened by sorrow, and the image of the heavenly state can only be perceived and realized when the lifeless, formless accretions of ignorance and self are hewn away. Only that love that seeks no personal gratification or reward, that does not make distinctions, and that leaves behind no heartaches, can be called divine. People clinging to self and to the comfortless shadows of evil are in the habit of thinking of divine love as something belonging to a God who is out of reach, as something outside of themselves, and that must forever remain outside. Truly, the love of God is ever beyond the reach of self. But when the heart and mind are emptied of self, then the selfless love, the supreme love, the love that is of God or good, becomes an inward and abiding reality. But how may one attain to this sublime realization? The answer which truth has always given and will ever give to this question is, empty thyself, and I will fill thee. Divine love cannot be known until self is dead, for self is the denial of love. And how can that which is known also be denied? Those who have realized the love that is divine are reborn and cease to be swayed and dominated by the old elements of self. They are known for their patience, purity, self control, deep charity of heart, and unalterable sweetness. Divine or selfless love is not a mere sentiment or emotion. It is a state of knowledge which destroys the dominion of evil and the belief in evil and lifts the soul into the joyful realization of the supreme good. To the divinely wise, knowledge and love are one and inseparable. It is toward the complete realization of this divine love that the whole world is moving. It was for this purpose that the universe came into existence, and every grasping at happiness, every reaching out of the soul toward objects, ideas, and ideals is an effort to realize it. But the world does not realize this love at present because it is grasping at the fleeting shadow and ignoring in its blindness the substance. Now, keep in mind, this was written in like 1903, 1908, in that area. So at the moment, at the time when this was written, the author was noting this note here. I'll read it again. It says, but the world does not realize this love at present because it is grasping at the fleeting shadow and ignoring in its blindness the substance. So I think some improvements have been made since the early 1900s. What do you think? All right, so continuing on. And so suffering and sorrow continue and must continue until the world, taught by its self inflicted pains, discovers the love that is selfless, the wisdom that is calm and full of peace. Page 172. And this love, this wisdom, this peace, this tranquil state of mind and heart may be attained to, may be realized by all who are willing and ready to yield up self and who are prepared to humbly enter into a comprehension of all that the giving up of self involves. There is no arbitrary power in the universe, and the strongest chains of fate by which people are bound are self forged. They are chained to that which causes suffering because they desire to be so, because they love their chains, because they think their little dark prison of self is sweet and beautiful, and they are afraid that if they desert that prison, they will lose all that is real and worth having. And the indwelling power which forge the chains are built around itself the dark and narrow prison, can break away when it desires and wills to do so. The soul does will to do so when it has discovered the worthlessness of its prison, when long suffering has prepared it for the reception of the boundless light and love. As the shadow follows the form, and as smoke comes after fire, so effect follows cause, and suffering and bliss follow our thoughts and deeds. There is no effect in the world around us, but has its hidden or revealed cause, and that cause is in accordance with absolute justice. People reap a harvest of suffering because in the near or distant past they have sown the seeds of evil. They reap a harvest of bliss, also as a result of their own sowing of the seeds of good. Let us meditate upon this. Let us strive to understand it, and we will then begin to sow only seeds of good, and will burn up the tares and weeds which formerly grown in the garden of our hearts. The world does not understand the love that is selfless because it is engrossed in the pursuit of its own pleasures and cramped within the narrow limits of perishable interests, mistaking in its ignorance those pleasures and interests for real and abiding things. Caught in the flames of fleshly lusts and burning with anguish, it sees not the pure and peaceful beauty of truth. Feeding upon the swinish husks of error and self delusion, it is shut out from the mansion of all seeing love. Not having this love, not understanding it, we institute innumerable reforms which involve no inward sacrifice, and we imagine that our reform is going to right the world forever. While we continue to propagate evil by engaging in it with our hearts, that only can be called reform which tends to reform the human heart. For all evil has its rise there, and not until the world, ceasing from selfishness and party strife, has learned the lesson of divine love, will it realize the golden age of universal blessedness. Let the rich cease to despise the poor, and the poor to condemn the rich. Let the greedy learn how to give, and the lustful how to grow pure. Let the partisan cease from strife, and the uncharitable begin to forgive. Let the envious evildoer. There's the nature of evil. They bring, this book. He talks a lot about the nature of evil, and it's like, if there's a book to do it and a time to do it, this is it. This book, So I'm just reading it, but I it was envious, not evil, and I was just so used to saying that word from the previous. This book I actually read it. I had read it in the past by only reading like highlighted sections where I had highlighted and I thought they were like the most positive sections. And I'd read through the whole book and the highlighted sections only in about 15 minutes or like 10, 15 minutes. And that would be like a little meditation. And now I wanted to read this book in these videos. In this video, I wanted to just read it all text by text. And I do try to limit the commentary, but here and there I try to put in a little commentary. So, let the envious endeavor to rejoice with others, and the slanderers grow ashamed of their conduct. Let men and women take this course, and lo, the golden age is at hand. Those who purify their own hearts are the world's greatest benefactors. Yet, though the world is and will be for many ages to come shut out from that age of gold, which is the realization of selfless love, you, if you are willing, may enter it now by rising above your selfish self. If you will pass from prejudice, hatred, and condemnation to gentle and forgiving love, where hatred, dislike, and condemnation are selfless love does not abide. It resides only in the heart that has ceased from all condemnation. You say, how can I love the drunkard, the hypocrite, the sneak, the murderer? I am compelled to dislike and condemn such people. It is true you cannot love such people emotionally, but when you say that you must perforce dislike and condemn them, you show that you are not acquainted with the great overruling love. For it is possible to attain to such a state of interior enlightenment as will enable you to perceive the train of causes by which these people have become as they are, to enter into their intense sufferings, and to know the certainty of their ultimate purification. Possessed of such knowledge, it will be utterly impossible for you any longer to dislike or condemn them, and you will always think of them with perfect calmness and deep compassion. If you love people and speak of them with praise until they in some way thwart you, or do something of which you disapprove, and then you dislike them and speak of them with dispraise, you are not governed by the love that is of God. If in your heart you are continually arraigning and condemning others, selfless love is hidden from you. Those who know that love is at the heart of all things and have realized the all sufficing power of that love have no room in their hearts for condemnation. Those not knowing this love constitute themselves judge and executioner of others, forgetting that there is the eternal judge and executioner. And insofar as people deviate from them in their own views, their particular reforms and methods, they brand them as fanatical, unbalanced, lacking judgment, sincerity, and honesty. Insofar as others approximate to their own standard, do they look upon them as being everything that is admirable. Such are those who are centered in self. Page 176. But those whose hearts are centered in the supreme love do not so brand and classify others, do not seek to convert others to their own views, or to convince them of the superiority of their methods, knowing the law of love. Knowing the law of love, they live it and maintain the same calm attitude of mind and sweetness of heart toward all. The debased and the virtuous, the foolish and the wise, the learned and the unlearned, the selfish and the unselfish, receive alike the benediction of their tranquil thoughts. You can only attain to this supreme knowledge, this divine love, by unremitting endeavor in self-discipline, and by gaining victory after victory over yourself. Only the pure in heart see God, and when your heart is sufficiently purified, you will enter into the new birth, and the love that does not die or change or end in pain and sorrow will be awakened within you, and you will be at peace. Those who strive for the attainment of divine love are ever seeking to overcome the spirit of condemnation, for where there is pure spiritual knowledge, condemnation cannot exist, and only in the heart that has become incapable of condemnation is love perfected and fully realized. The Christian condemns the atheist. The atheist satirizes the Christian. The Catholic and the Protestant are ceaselessly engaged in wordy warfare, and the spirit of strife and hatred rules where peace and love should be. Until you can regard people of all religions and of no religion with the same impartial spirit, with all freedom from dislike, and with perfect equanimity, you have yet to strive for that love which bestows upon its possessor freedom and salvation. The realization of divine knowledge, selfless love, utterly destroys the spirit of condemnation, disperses all evil, and lifts the consciousness to that height of pure vision where love, goodness, and justice are seen to be universal, supreme, all-conquering, indestructible. Train your mind in strong, impartial, and gentle thought. Train your heart in purity and compassion. Train your tongue to silence and to true and stainless speech. So shall you enter the way of holiness and peace, and shall ultimately realize the immortal love. So living without seeking to convert, you will convince. Without arguing, you will teach, not cherishing ambition. The wise will find you out, and without striving to gain others' opinions, you will subdue their hearts. For love is all conquering, all powerful, and the thoughts and deeds and words of love can never perish. To know that love is universal, supreme, all sufficing, to be freed from the trammels of evil, to be quit of the inward unrest, to know that all people are striving to realize the true each in his own way, to be satisfied, sorrowless, serene. This is peace. This is gladness. This is immortality. This is divinity. This is the realization of selfless love. Page 178.